Hi there and welcome to the webinar. My name is Daniel and we're going to be looking at doing introduction into virtual reality solutions for design and manufacturing. Now, if there's any questions or any queries, if you cannot hear me or the screen's not clear enough, you can just message it on the type box or you could raise your hand as well. It's on the questions pane. Hi, there's a question from Francois. Okay, thank you. You can hear me loud and clear. Okay, excellent. All right, so I'm going to begin, or we should give it a couple of minutes before we could start for other attendees that might be joining. So we'll start just about 9 a.m., so in a minute or so. Okay, I think we can start. So welcome again to the webinar. It's more or less an introduction into virtual reality solutions in design and manufacturing. And during the webinar, we see and we discover really nice ways to do design review using tools available from Autodesk, as well as virtual reality tools that allow us to actually go in and review our designs and create stunning visualizations for the work that we've done. So just to start up the agenda on today, so the objective of the class. Sorry, not showing up. Okay, so the class objective for today, at the end of the class, you'll be able to position the right visualization solution for the right requirement at the end of your design. So you'll be looking at a couple of solutions that Autodesk have and how that would be positioned in the design environment from your side. We look at the possibilities for visualization and design in the manufacturing space and looking at the data that you create and how can you create visualizations from that. We also go in and have a look and see what can be achieved without having a great understanding or being a visualization expert, what you can achieve with just out-the-box tools, as well as making the most of what Autodesk offers with regards to visualization. Now, very quickly, the agenda for today. We're going to go in, firstly, we're going to look at the landscape into the introduction, the landscape of the virtual reality environment. We position Autodesk's solutions, why VRED is right for design review, and again, we look at VRED itself, and we look at some demonstrations around the value around VRED. So we've got some really nice videos to show off on VRED, so you can have a look and see how VRED has impact and what the impact is on design review. To start off, let's look at the VR landscape itself. So in here, we find that often there's virtual reality. And what is virtual reality? Virtual reality is an artificial generated world that can be experienced and interacted with. Wouldn't you agree, right? We see these really cool headsets that people use with data that they've created, and they allow themselves to actually view and see a reality that is virtual. So it doesn't really exist in the real world, but it's a reality that's created, which really looks lifelike. And the other thing is that users use special equipment like headsets, and if there's multiple out there, there's price ranging depending on budget. You find that there's multiple different types of headsets that you could use and could work with, and this allows us to actually immerse ourselves into that virtual environment. The next is augmented reality, and what is the difference between augmented reality? So we always hear about this augmented reality, and when we hear about virtual reality. Okay, augmented reality is a technology that superimposes a computer-generated image, right? And this can be achieved often by, on the left-hand side, you'll see the HoloLens that allows you to actually look at augmented reality, and on the right, you'll see there's apps available directly from your cell phone that will allow you to actually create an augmented reality environment. Generally, what happens is it's a mix. We see nowadays there's a mix between augmented reality and virtual reality, which is called the mixed reality. And in the mixed reality, it's basically merging of the virtual reality worlds as well as the real world. This is what happens here is it produces new environments and visualizations, right? For us to actually visualize our models or our components in real time, right? And it allows us to kind of interact with them to a certain extent. Now you'll see where the mixed reality comes in and how does it work. The real environment, right, on the left versus the virtual environment on the right. And in between, you see that augmented reality and the augmented virtual reality in between that. And that gives us a mixture of both called mixed reality or MR, right? So what does that look like and how does it work? So let's have a look. Here we find there's equipment that's been created. So it's a 3D model that's been created, and it was done on the mixed reality viewer first, and then we can actually bring it in and position it in a real life environment. Now in here you can see a component that's coming in. It snaps to a specific QR code or scan, and you can actually see a mixed reality between a component that's created, the model, and snapping onto something that's live, right? So giving us that live, right? So you've also got the webcam that could be used, and you've seen in the video of the first bit of the video, they were actually using a webcam in that to actually bring it into that real environment. So there's multiple options from a cost point of view. You find that there's a low-cost solution for VR, and Google Cardboard is one of them. From a virtual reality point of view, Google Cardboard allows you to actually put in your cell phone into it and look through a lens that's available. And all it is just a cardboard that you can fold up and create these virtual reality environments. Below that, you'll find that there's a lot of other available tools by different companies that sell these virtual reality units. One of the popular ones being the Oculus, right, as well as the HTC Vive. And you find that they of course, priced at different ranges as well as you look up the line of that. Now, if we see that there's on the image on the upper left-hand corner, you see that there's a music studio, right, which offers this kind of environment that you could do. It's called Inside Abbey Road, and what it does is allows you to actually go into that virtual reality environment of that music studio. You could see and experience what it feels like to be in that environment. Really cool. There's another really cool effort from Autodesk. So using Forge, right? And it's Forge Mobile VR, right? And the story behind this was it was done by a couple of software engineers from Autodesk that actually attended a seminar, or it was a virtual reality event. And they've come up with a really, really cool initiative and a very cool site that you could upload files to and work with. Have a look a bit more into that. Apologize for that. So as you can see, it is a site that you can upload your files, and what would that do is it will allow you to actually go in and prepare for your virtual reality environment. Now that's a really nice site. It's available. The links are available on. You can get access to it afterward. It's www.VRED.it or Mobile Forge VR. If you just look at that, and you'll be able to get that. And what it essentially does is you scan in your QR code to attach your model to that, or you can upload the file itself, and then once you scan it, you can link your device to that that environment itself. So what about looking at consumer VR for the desktop? So as you can see, as mentioned earlier on, there are a couple of more affordable options. You get, depending on budget again, you could look at different solutions for that. So, affordable professional quality VR solutions are now available with companies like the Vive, right, as well as the Oculus, that allow you to actually create these really cool and stunning images, right, and allowing you to actually put that into VR. Now, apart from that, we found VR is not only just for us in our review environment. I thought I might share this really cool little video here about a company that extends their VR for cats. All right, so it's quite interesting. People are actually creating VR for cats nowadays. So yeah, so it's taking it to another level. So what about the convergence of VR and AR in the future? So this is really, really interesting to actually note from a research point of view, and from a point of view to see where things are going with VR. You find that we've got the general side of it, which was the augmented reality as well as the virtual reality devices that were available to us. Those devices, of course, get smaller and lighter with time. Okay, so it's making it more mobile, more easier to carry around, and also the quality of them get a lot better. Following that, we find that it's moving on to a state of where people are actually using them as contact lenses now. I know it's crazy because it's really small and fitting in there, and actually allowing you to not even have this big chunky thing around your face that allows you to actually just view stuff in virtual augmented reality. Following that, there was the last side of it was actually retinal implants. So that's actually happening, or it plans to happen, where people are actually looking at doing retinal implants for augmented or virtual reality in life. So that's really a thing which I don't know if I might be too comfortable in doing. However, people are actually looking at it, and it's in pipelines out there. So let's talk about VR and why using VRED as the solution for design review. Now, many of you might have used it or might have heard of VRED, and you find that Autodesk VRED has two flavors to it, so the VRED Design as well as VRED Professional. Now, let's have a look deeper into it and what does it do for us in a review state. So firstly, if we're looking at it from the AEC, so Architecture and Engineering Visualization workflow, models are generally created in Revit, okay? From Revit, it would move into a design review state, or that will be Revit Live, right? That will include the VR options. However, you can also take that into a visualization option. And you can see here it's reference for visualization, right? And if we look at this from here, you've got different other options that you could take it into. You could take it into different visualization tools, some of them being Autodesk, and of course the non-Autodesk options. So what you could do is in theory, you could have your whole visualization 3D model being visualized in a 3D environment with very stunning renders using 3ds Max. Now, if we look at from a simulation point of view, if you've got to do any simulation on that building to see the airflow in the building, that could also be linked in. So you could take your visualization from your simulation to see your flows of air and checking what velocities are, or heat, or the general cooling of the building. Bring that into your visualization tools like 3ds Max, and from there taking that into Revit Live for a review session. From a manufacturing workflow, we find that CAD models are generally created, okay, using Inventor, brought that into Navisworks for visualization. From there, you take that into 3ds Max for a bit more higher quality visualization. That could be taken into the VR interactions for special effects directly from 3ds Max. Alternatively, you could bring that into third parties applications that are non-Autodesk, that allow you to actually bring it into that VR environment if you're used to working with that. However, all of your simulations as well still link into it. Inside of that, you have another option which will allow you to take it into VRED as well. So you can use VRED Pro or VRED Design. Now, what would happen here is the workflow will be slightly shorter. You will take it from your 3D model directly into VRED for virtual reality design review, right? Alternatively, if you want a very high quality of that, you can take it into 3ds Max and then from there into VRED. And that's all dependent on your quality expectations at the end. Of course, simulation also links directly into that as well. So looking at a priority side of it, looking at VRED versus 3D Studio Max Interactive, all right, which we've seen earlier on. So depending on what is your visualization priority. Now you'll see the yes and no's on the side, meaning that if you have digital artists in-house, if you've got someone who's really cool and really good at doing visualizations, or you could use something like a 3ds Max, right? If you don't have that, VRED is perfect for that. It allows you just to take in the model directly from Inventor into VRED for these visualizations that you create, right? Model data is likely to change, so this is something really important. If your model data is going to be changed or constantly updated, perhaps a tool like VRED would be more suited, because as you see as we go along, if there's a change in the model, you upload it, and the uploaded model in VRED, you update the design, and your changes pull through across. So it's really, really interactive in that way. Also, are you using more, likely consuming more data that's complex in your design? And these are questions that before you make that decision to switching over to VR, the questions that needs to be answered, right? So special effects that are not required. So if you don't require any special effects or any environment special effects, VRED Design or VRED Professional is actually a better tool to use in that environment. However, if you require that, so examples that include animated objects, such as fluid or animated flow traces of once you've done your CFD analysis, or even physical engine scene interactions, that happen inside of the environment that you want to show off to customers. So very, very high-end visualizations, you might want to consider using the Autodesk 3ds Max interactive tool. Okay, so moving along from that, you find that what's in VRED. Okay, so it allows you to actually quickly get into virtual reality. Okay, really great for design review and engineering review, right? And I'm highlighting some of the main factors here. Large data review is really good for that, as well as huge data sets without or little or no optimization required, which is really nice. So from a engineering design review point of view, it's a really, really nice tool to actually work with. So VRED versus VRED Pro, right? And what's it for and what's it against? Well, not sorry, VRED Pro, VRED itself. Again, it's used for getting into virtual reality quite quickly. Little data prep that's required from yourself when doing it in. Working with larger volumes, it's really great for that. And also automating certain tasks that you could use, right? In getting to that virtual reality environment. But also better visual fidelity for having good visuals of your model. Now, we'll have a comparison a bit later on between just using visualization straight off the applications, or the 3D CAD applications, versus using a visualization tool to see what the differences are. If you look at what's it against, there's a couple of factors around here. Basically, you need to install some software, which we all used to if we're using design applications, and it cannot do very complex animations. So you've got your very basic animations, right? And also no volumetric effects, right? That's included in that. So as you can see, for a design review side of it, it's not a very high-end visualization tool like 3ds Max and the 3ds Max offerings, but it's a really great tool to get you into the virtual reality environment as well as create visualizations. Now, to move on between that, between VRED and VRED Professional, you'll see here direct import to Inventor, all right? Auto scripting interactions in VRED Pro that can be consumed in VRED Design. So the workflow would be directly from Inventor going all the way to VRED or VRED Pro to create these visualizations. Now, how does it interact between each other? You'll see here both can import data directly into each other. Both can do really good design reviews and taking that into a virtual reality environment. The similar between the both are the similarities of visualizations that's capable for manufacturing data. That will be very similar between the two. Both can animate camera and geometry. Both can utilize scripts for VR interaction. So if you've got customized scripts that you're going to use for that, you could actually have it existing in both. However, VRED Pro can author scripts for interaction with VR and not VRED Design. However, those scripts can be used in VRED Design as well. If we look at importing data, now in here you'll find that this is a custom example, VMAX tractor, and native data import, IAM, that's an Inventor file that's being imported in. The import time took about 3 minutes, right? And as you can see, it's a 2-year-old laptop, so it's something very brand new and fancy. It had direct access to the data structure as well as the component level hierarchy, right? And optimization was not required for this level of data and was a single click VR. Now, we can have a look into that. And you can see the differences when actually bringing it in. Now, I want to actually see if we can get this going in. Again, with here, higher quality visualization, right? Render time per image was 1 minute, and it was quick and easy to create these realistic design. Now, this is what it looked like after it was rendered. A very quick render that took 1 minute. So you can see not much time has been spent on rendering on this tractor. Okay, and you can see the model itself. It looks quite good from a render point of view. Okay, the materials that need to be adapted, you can do automatic adapting or manual adapting of materials, and you can see here the quality of the material that's being shown in here. You could add some shading to add the quality to that, as well as photographic effects. So you got depth and fields that you could also play around with and actually add to the effects of the images that you're creating. And as you can see, as the images change, you see the differences when some effects are applied to them. And from what you can see on the images on the left-hand side, more towards the left, you can see a lot of texture going on in there. So you could add these really nice effects to it as well. So just taking it out the box, going from Inventor straight into VRED. Okay. So with regards to the tractor, you'll find that the visualization, again, looking at it, no preparation required, quick and easily to fly by, about 10 minutes to actually to get everything set up, and it can be viewed in the virtual reality itself. Let's have a look at it from an animation point of view, as well as from a demonstration side. As you can see in VRED, you can orbit around the model, have a look at what it would look like. And just orbiting around to see what that model would look like. Now, there's multiple things that we could do here just by looking at what the model looks like. And you can create a keyframe animation. So we saw what the model looked like from an overview, but also creating quick animations from keyframes, but also importing animations from other software like Inventor or 3ds Max into VRED, right? Let's have a look at this. So in Inventor, we go in and we can drive a constraint that we have existing. Okay, so in here we know that the constraint will move across. We take that into a 3ds Max environment. Bring that, import the file in. Wait for it to translate. It's almost there, and there we go. The model's in. And as we can see what the constraints that come across that can be moved and modified. And now we can go in and export that out. Right? Export that out to an .fbx file that can be read in there. Save that away. And when we export it, we're going to have to include the animations that we're going to bring in. And we could go in and select the start and end and the steps that's required for that. Now in VRED, if we import that file, bring that in, you can see what our file looks like. We move the timeline down, you can see that the animations can be animated as well. Okay, so creating quick keyframe animations is really quite easy if you follow a workflow like that. However, if we go into back into it, looking at an example of Inventor data, looking at it from a generating a virtual reality cardboard scene, so using a Google Cardboard, on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, you can actually see what it would look like from a static viewpoint, right? And you can see from here, directly send it out, send it to your cell phone, and you can actually create a little virtual reality environment directly from VRED, and that can be used with the Google Cardboard as well. Just for a quick visualization review. If you look at the workflow, right? So we can quickly import and review designs into and review in virtual reality. We can make changes within the tool and quickly review that inside of virtual reality, as well as it's a massive benefit for design and review within VR, right? So let's have a look at the example here directly from Inventor again. Back into the VR console, VRED console, sorry. Bring in the Inventor IAM. As you can see, there's no translation required. It pulls up the file, and no animations were imported. And this is what the file will look like inside of VRED. Now, again, if you send that to VR, to your virtual reality environment, this is what it would look like from a virtual reality environment point of view. So you could actually go in using your joysticks there. You could actually go and add in a third person or actually zoom around and work with it. So from here, send that file to a virtual reality environment, and you could actually go in and look at it. Now, from a review point of view, if we review the tire itself, you can see the small updated change has been done to the model, a couple of changes here and there. What's happening to the Inventor model? In the sheet metal, there's a small cutout that's been added to it. If you update that, you can see the cutout in there. Now, hit save. Back to VRED. On the model, reload all files again. And once that loads, you'll find that the updated Inventor model shows up in VRED. So this allows us to actually give us the ability not to go back, close the file, open up the save file, and review any changes that we made. So it's a really, really nice way to actually review our design work if we're looking at reviewing in a design virtual reality environment. Now, from a sorry, I think that's playing me back again. So examples of Invent data. So adding variance to the data, identifying engineering requirements. We see that with it having it rendered without any finalized or just engineering requirements itself, just basic, without any of the final product, you could actually look at it in both aspects of it, without any materials or textures applied to it. So using the tool for engineering design review, again, we can have a look at taking a model directly from Inventor again for an engineering display. As you can see here, there's not much, very basic. There's no sort of textures or material added to that. We bring that into VRED again. Add in the file, and as you can see, it comes in. We can look at the graph that goes around it. We can transform the data that we have, so we can, by transforming, we move it around into certain positioning. Ray tracing for the render, and as you can see, this is live ray tracing, so it's not taking a very long time. Okay. We look at the engineering view now of it. And again, reload the file and use materials from the file. So we're bringing in the materials that's been used from Inventor, so it'll come in to VRED with those materials. And of course, VRED makes use of the Autodesk material library as well. And from an engineering design review stage of it, where we don't have all of the decals and all of the textures applied to it, it's more review. We can actually do that from a review point of view as well, which is really, really great, right? So again, high quality output, rendering high quality visuals or static images that can be rendered in here. Quickly create product marketing materials to complete your workflow, as well as using high materials from the asset library that's available as well. As you can see, this is a static image that's in here, which is created, which can be used downstream in your workflow for visualizations as well. So what about working with larger data sets? So often we find people mention that, yes, it's really nice working with data sets that's smaller and they can be managed quite well. Looking at VRED itself, we find that so creating a virtual reality environment workflow from Navisworks as well. So Navisworks, as we know, handles large data sets quite well. You know, having data coming in from multiple sources can be handled very well in Navisworks. And the workflow will be having the 3D CAD model done, either using Inventor or other CAD applications, taking that into a Navisworks environment. You could export that out to a TWIF file, a DWF file, and then sending that directly into VRED for virtual reality design review. Now, something to note here, this is what a virtual reality environment would look like, you know, from VRED itself. And of course, transferring that, it shows you what the lens would look like as well. And when you bring that into your headset, you'll be able to actually see it a lot more clearer with the virtual reality environment in place. Now, as you can see, you can switch on certain animations like the lighting in here, and that could be all controlled. Flashlights. And also points as well. So you can point to certain things like the blinds, for instance, have the blinds open. And actually have animations take place. Now this is done with a combination of using 3ds Max as well as VRED, which is done really nicely. But from a design visualization and review point of view, this is a really, really nice tool to actually get going and having your designs animated in such a way. So with that, we'd like to actually look at just the complete design review workflow that could be adopted in here. And you'll find that the road to visualization all starts off with, of course, your engineering application, be it Inventor in this case, and you can take that around to create a workflow for a visualization workflow and a virtual reality workflow, which can be used in your marketing environments, in presentations, real-time presentations, use it for static rendering, as well as engineering and design workflow. And with that, we'd like to end the presentation with the key takeaways. So it's just not one version of VRED that's available. You've got two versions. Of course, one is VRED Design, one is VRED Professional. And with VRED for 2019, both VRED Pro and VRED Design have VR capabilities, so you can take your designs directly into that. But also what's important and what the messaging here is to actually leverage design review for VR. And as you can see, VRED excels with working with large amounts of data, so you can actually load in your larger models and use it to work with it. However, something not mentioned here, another thing to look at is the workflow from the design, as well as going straight to VRED for your visualizations and your renders. However, if you require a lot more animations, a lot more visualization quality effects, then another thing to consider is taking it into 3ds Max and from there into VRED for the virtual reality. With that, I'd like to close and thank you all for attending. If there's any questions, please feel free to pop me an email. My email address is Daniel, D-A-N-E-E-L, @bakerbaines.com. That's D-A-N-E-E-L @BAKERBAYNES.com. If you've got questions, you can pop them onto the chat box and we can have a discussion around that. Alternatively, we could share information with you following this. So, so Francois, thank you for your question. I see you really like the CAT VR. That was also quite a thing when I saw it the first time, and I thought I should include it. Something really cool, something really different. We don't see that happening very often, right? Would you be able to pull the file into Maya as well? I'm unsure about Maya's import functionality directly from VRED. I'll need to find that out and get back to you with that with regards to Maya. But I'm sure there must be information on that, which I'll get, and I'll get back to you, and we can see what that workflow would look like. If there's any further questions, please feel free to either type it on the chat box, or again, you could always pop me an email, or we could have a telephone discussion afterward with regards to any of the visualization questions. Once again, thank you very, very much for spending the morning with me to go through visualization in the manufacturing environment from a design review as well as a virtual reality point of view. It's a very nice way to actually expose our designs and our models to customers in a very different way to present them as well as review them. And I hope you know, a lot of you adopt this this ideology of review and design review. It's really cool, really nice, as you've seen in there. And using tools like VRED Designer or VRED Pro, you find that you could do a lot of out-the-box functionalities quite easily. They don't have to be a specialized animation artist to do this. You could take your models directly from Inventor into the design review environment with VRED and convert that to a virtual reality as well that can be used downstream. So thank you very much. And I see there is a question here. What are the costs of the software, VRED Pro? Francois, can I get back to you with that? I don't have costing offhand, but if you pop me your details, I'll be glad to get back to you with pricing on VRED or VRED Pro. Remember, again, my email is Daniel@Baker-Baines, so it's DANEEL @Baker, BAKER, Baines, BAYNES.com. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Francois. I've got your email address here. I'll should be sure to pop you an email with regards to pricing. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining the webinar today. I really look forward to seeing you on the future webinars. Thank you very much.